Eighty20 says South African households continue to change while the census counting signals a growth in the population. But the dynamics in households, marriage behaviour, among others, are changing. The research company says there are several factors that have influenced these changes. Let's look at this in depth now and speak to Eighty20 Director Andrew Fulton, who joins us live now. Andrew, thank you so much for your time. I mean, despite the growth that we're seeing in the population, there does seem to be some changes in the dynamics, and I'm interested to find out about, just some of them. But let's start with what we are seeing then, especially when it comes to the decline in the birth rate. Of course, this is not unique to South Africa. We're seeing it globally. So what have you found in terms of the factors that are driving this?
Yeah, so at Eighty20 we've got access to large amounts of data, and one of the exciting databases that came out in the last little while was the census that looks at sort of household structure, and it's just interesting to look at the changes that have happened over the past 10 years. So in terms of lowered birth rates, yes, I mean birth rates are dropping around the globe. Most countries actually have a birth rate that's below 2.1 births per female, which means that's the rate at which a population can reproduce itself. South Africa is still at 2.33, which means we'll be growing for some time, and we'll be growing probably to about 75.5 million people in 2050. But that birth rate is dropping, and it's as a result that and a number of other things is changing the size and structure of households in South Africa.
And that drop in the size of the households, does it have anything to do with the cost of living for some?
There's a huge number. I mean, it's never just one thing that happens, but yeah, the cost of living, the result of that is people are thinking about what it costs to bring a child into the world. There was one survey we looked at that I think was was done by My Way, that found that on average people spend about 100,000 rand a year to raise a child. That's obviously for wealthier households, but the cost of having children is quite expensive. The other thing where cost of living comes in is changes in marriage. So with an uncertain job market and getting married is quite expensive. People are delaying marriage. So what we've seen is since 2015, the average rate, the median age of brides has gone from 31 to 33, and the median age of bridegrooms has gone from 36 to 37. So people getting married later, delaying family formation, and therefore having smaller households.
Is there any particular reason to the delay in the marriages? I was very interested when I read it because, you often see people say on social media, and you assume people are like, no, I'm ready to get married. I'm so interested. Where's my partner? But then when you have to see those figures and you see that people are delaying, what's going on? Yeah,
I mean, obviously, once again, there's a whole number of things. It's the cost. But I think people also, there's a change in social norms. It's not required to get married to have children anymore. In fact, what's amazing is about 70% of South Africans have children outside of marriage. So it's quite a high number. In the United States, it's about 41%. The other side of it is, the fact that we often put out is roughly 2/3 of women in South Africa with babies under the age of 2 are single. They've never been married and they're not living together. So, whether it's through, a lack of partners or a lack of suitable partners or just finances, people are delaying getting married or not getting married at all.
And it's also quite interesting, especially when you look at the fact that there's also quite a lot of factors that are influencing this. But there was something else that was very, very interesting, especially when you look at the fact that 40% of the babies born into households earning less than 5,000 rand a month. What does that tell us?
Yeah, I mean, well, South Africa is a very primitive structure in terms of wealth. If you make 10,000 rand a month personal income in this country, you're probably in the top 90% of earners. So there's a large amount of people in this country that are relying on government grants that don't make a lot of money. But yeah, 40% of babies born into households that make less than 5,000 rand a month. Most of our babies are born in KZN and Gauteng, just because they're the most populous provinces. But we do notice that the more rural provinces like Limpopo and Northern Cape do have higher birth rates, because there still is that sense that more children, they'll take care of you when you're older. Perhaps if your livelihood is reliant on manual labor, it's better to have more hands in the house to help with that. So yeah, that's those are trends as well.
Quite interesting. And finally then, Andrew, I wonder, what does this tell us, especially when you look at the data that you have access to? What does it tell us about, the story of South Africa, especially when it comes to the population in the last decade or so?
Well, I mean, we're a very young population. 60% are under the age of 35 years old. But what it's showing is that our population is actually growing older. The fastest growing age group is 60 plus right now. And that sort of 0 to 4, child range is shrinking. Our median age was 22 in 1996. It's now 28. So we've got an aging population, which is a good thing, because it means, there's better water supply, sanitation, diet, lower child mortality, better access to education, and more power amongst women who can make choices around getting jobs and how and when they have children. So yeah, there's a lot of demographic change happening in South Africa, and what is important, I guess, to realize is that change is going to be a constant, and we need to adapt to how these demographics and family structures are changing.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much for this chat this evening. Do appreciate it. That is Andrew Fulton there. He is the Eighty20 Director.